push, right?
Yeah.
If you looked at it right now, who are the best point guard / guards in the NBA, right? It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Jalen Brunson.
I'd throw Trey in there with De'Aaron and Ja.
So that's what I was going to say. After those top 5, and even Brunson, is like a clear 5 of
right
that
now.
group.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, after that, there's a group of 5 through 10 that it's like you could have debates for hours and not come to a consensus about who's better. I'm talking Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, Darius Garland, Kyrie Irving. There's so many great guards in that 6 through 10 or 6 through 11 best player in the league range. And that's why it's been so difficult to see a path for De'Aaron Fox to land on that All-NBA team this year and get that $345 million Supermax contract, because there are just so many guards, so many point guards in that 5 to 9 best in the league range, that it's you could basically go for a push. Now, if you're talking about the next 5 years, I think we could take Kyrie Irving probably out of that group.
And probably Steph as well.
Probably. Steph might have 4 good years left.
You never know. Yeah.
This year, Steph is still efficiency rating. He's top 5 in the league right now. So
Dame, I think, will be done in 5.
Yeah, Dame's probably done in 5 years. But I'm just talking, Dame is probably in that group ahead just based on he's been a top 10 player for years now, but of that group that's Darius Garland, Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, Trae Young, I might even throw in LaMelo Ball in that group, Tyrese Halliburton. It's they're all so good. So it's really interesting because the numbers you just listed, Ja Morant and De'Aaron Fox, are basically the same player, minus Ja Morant missing a season and a half with injuries and suspension.
Right. And I would also say that sometimes that helps. We know that Ja Morant missed for some reasons that will give people cause to pause, but that's also an opportunity for him to not regress. That's an opportunity for his numbers to not get worse. De'Aaron Fox is playing almost every single night, and whether he's injured, dinged up, whatever. Look, the character thing is what it is. I would be more concerned with, you have Ja Morant saying he's not trying to dunk anymore. I would be more worried about, I look at the Ja Morant, and I know Russell Westbrook played for a long time, but I look at these Skywalker point guards like Derrick Rose, of course, and Ja Morant. I look at them, I've always looked at them like mobile quarterbacks. I've always looked at them like mobile quarterbacks because you're going to have their height for a specific amount of years, and you need to do the most you can with that guy for that amount of time. Right, for as long as you have them at their height. So to me, I would take De'Aaron Fox. Yes, there is character stuff with Ja, even if he matures and grows up a bit. But just as much as there's character stuff, there's injury stuff.
Yeah.
He's always dinged up.
Yeah, and I was looking up their efficiency ratings to kind of prepare to talk about this. And in the seasons where they've both been healthy, it's been Ja Morant every season so far.
That's
been ahead of
interesting.
De'Aaron Fox. So in 2022, Ja Morant was 9th. Fox didn't make the top 40, but I'm guessing that's because he maybe didn't play enough games. That was the year that they traded for Sabonis, and Fox missed the last 20 games of the season. So, but even if he was healthy, he wasn't going to be 9th. Ja Morant was an All-NBA player that year. So Ja Morant had him in 22. In 2023, Ja Morant was 17th. De'Aaron Fox was 25th. So far this year, Ja Morant is, I'm going to pull it back up real quick. So far this year, Ja Morant comes in at 25th and De'Aaron Fox comes in at 28th. So it's they've been basically about the same this season. So Ja Morant in the past has been a consistently slightly better player than De'Aaron Fox, according to efficiency rating. Now, at this point, we're talking about Ja Morant after shoulder surgery and missing a season and a half or the back half of a season due to suspension. So you're in that tough place of what is Ja Morant giving you going forward at this point? And there's obviously the story about him not wanting to dunk anymore.
Right.
And is that a question about his athleticism and burst falling apart? We know about the Derrick Roses and the Russell Westbrooks and how that style of player doesn't age as gracefully.
Especially when you can't shoot.
Yeah.
And you can't shoot, Ja.
But when De'Aaron Fox...
There's a bad joke I was going to say there, but I let it sit.
When De'Aaron Fox was Ja Morant's 4 years ago, De'Aaron Fox couldn't shoot, is the long and the short.
Sure.
And De'Aaron Fox has figured out how to shoot.
But De'Aaron Fox is barely 2 years older than. It's not that big of a gap. I think a lot of people do think, myself included, till I looked up their ages, I thought it was a bigger gap.
What's interesting about both players is that in the league, once you get to about year 10, that's when, not that injuries start piling up, but that's when you kind of stop guaranteeing health, right? Devin Booker's in year 10, and you're kind of not sure when he's going to be on the floor, when he's not going to be on the floor, right? It's not to say that's where the blown Achilles or the broken arms or stuff like those injuries come at any time. Like we saw with Ja Morant last year, was like he went up for a dunk and his shoulder got ripped. It's like, that's what ends up happening with those freak injuries. But the wear and tear injuries do start to pile up. And I think for both players, that's going to be a concern over the next 5 years, just because it happens with every one of these point guards that is built on athleticism.
Yeah, De'Aaron is just based on mileage. Ja is just based on he's already been dinged up. So they're going to get there in different ways.
It's mileage in a different way, right? For Fox, it's the quick bursts and the running. For Ja Morant, it's the running, jumping knee injuries that we started to see with Kawhi.
Yeah, so I think this is a tough one. There is something that Ja has on Fox that we will break down on the other side. We have a ton of text that we want to read through, everybody being a part of the conversation. We love that. Steven, we see you. We will get you on the other side. Who do you want next 5 years? De'Aaron Fox, Ja Morant, Allen Stiles, Sactown Sports. Gracie approved on the Sac chat saying, yeah, I got to go Fox. If Ja was here, I probably would take a break from the NBA. Gracie, come on. Gracie, you would take a break from the NBA?
He didn't do anything. I mean, yes, it posed a threat to others, but it more so posed a threat to himself.
We can't start a conversation. Yes, it posed a threat to others. 916 says, no debate necessary. Fox by a mile. Take the guy we can depend on. Family man off the court. Sorry, but Ja is not for me with this pass. But if you toss SGA, now that's a conversation. Well, I would say this, 916. A lot of people would say that's not a conversation. I mean, and I'm not saying, and we had that conversation, then they got the brakes beat off them. And I know it's just one game, but you could do the SGA thing. I'm just saying outside of Sacramento, 90% are going to go SGA.
It wasn't just that the brakes got beat off of him. It was De'Aaron Fox, 14 points, 4 of 11 from the field.
Might have been his worst game of the season, to be honest.
And SGA, 37 points, 10 assists. Blew him out the building.
And he was hitting threes. So I hear you, 916. We want De'Aaron to get there, but it's tough right now. SGA's been hot. 916 Rob says, I'm not putting Brunson above Fox. I'm not even putting Brunson above Fox. Fox is better averages across the board. There is something to that. Yeah, the Brunson thing, look, he's hot right now. We'll see how long that lasts. Another texter, Ja Morant might be one of the faces of the NBA, but I would take De'Aaron all day. Number one, availability. Number two, no off-court issues. It's a shame that NBA features talent over character. That's from the 209. 916 is ticked off. It's mind-numbing to me that there's a debate. De'Aaron can score at the same level as Ja any night. Ja is a cardboard cutout on defense, and De'Aaron is a stud. Ja straight up sucks. That's that homer type. I like that because, I mean, we just read the numbers, and the numbers are pretty much the same.
They're both in the tier 2 of point guards, right? And to Rob's point, maybe you could argue Jalen Brunson isn't there yet. I'd say he was, top 5 in the MVP last year?
Last season.
Maybe you could argue Brunson isn't there, right? But the first tier is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Luka Doncic, Steph Curry. You could even throw Damian Lillard in there. Those guys are elite players in the league, top 10 in the league.
Yeah.
And I think even the most optimistic of Kings fans wouldn't say De'Aaron Fox is a top 10 player.
It's all about seasons, though. And if De'Aaron gets to that level this season and he gets that supermax, he'll be in these conversations. I do think to the 916's point, De'Aaron is much better defensively than Ja. That's it. That is not a question. He led the league in steals. De'Aaron locks in on defense. So I'm with you there, 916. But offensively, I think Ja can distribute the basketball. But De'Aaron is a much better shooter. Ja is, I'm not going to call him a brick because I don't want him to find his stroke tonight. Ayo. But if I were going to call him a brick, I would call him a brick because De'Aaron is a better shooter than him. All right, we keep them going. And Kyle, before we get to these phone lines, I'm sure you're used to this. You're getting roasted on the text line. You're getting roasted on the Sac chat. M209, FYI, Eminem is still a thing, not just in the 2000s. Hey, I'm a millennial. Don't come at me. This is the Gen Z.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
This is not me. I get down. All right. And Kyle probably hasn't even heard of this technology. When 8 Mile came out, I got the DVD. You know what I also did? I had my mom help me record the battles. So I think we still had a couple Walkmans going around. This is in the 2000s, but exactly. And I would just listen back to the battles. That's why I have them all memorized. Your style is generic. Mine's authentic made. I roll like a renegade. Come on, Kyle. Don't get at me, y'all. I'm a millennial.
That's fine. I've heard 2010's Eminem.
See, this is what he's doing.
I've heard the later stuff, and I know,
don't let him
spaghetti song, but
don't let him upset you, y'all. But I do know one thing though. Those Kyles, they come and go. Saturday through Sunday, Monday through Sunday. Yo, all right, I'm done now. 916-339-1140. Let's go to Steven. Wants to be part of the conversation. What's up, Steven? What you got? I know, Steven, come on. I know you know 8 Mile. Tell Kyle, stop playing with us.
Look, I was just about, that was going to be my first thing before I get into this Fox Morant thing, bro. Like that, okay, lyrically, it's some of the best lyrics I've ever heard. Like, even though it was written for the movie, that movie is a classic. I don't care what anyone says. That is a movie that I'm going to have and sit down with my son when he gets old enough. We're going to be like, son, look, listen to this. Watch this. This is gold right here. That movie, bro, Eminem is still a thing. He's still an influence even to this day. People still talk about how influential he was and still is, even for a completely different generation like you. So, dude, watch that movie.
There you go.
I recommend it.
There you go. All right, Steve, what you got on Ja versus Fox?
All right, I'm not trying to take any shots here at Morant or anything like that. If you're
nicely done.
Pun there.
Yes, nicely done.
Okay. Anyway, I'm not trying to throw any strays his way or anything like that. So I would definitely take Fox over Morant just based on Fox's maturity. He has carried himself on and off the court in a professional manner. He understands that he represents the NBA and that he represents the Sacramento Kings and that he has an entire generation, looking up to him, wanting to mimic his game and follow his game. There could be some really fast cats out there that don't necessarily have any handles like that, but they can look at Fox and be like, ooh, okay, he's got a little shuck and jive to him as well, besides that, that straight burst speed. But Morant, I mean, the numbers, I'm a stats guy. The numbers speak for themselves, though. That's one thing I can't dispute. The numbers speak for themselves. They are almost deadlocked, almost even as far as the numbers that they put up. You know what I mean? As far as like efficiency, points per game, all that fun stuff.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Steven. Great stuff. Thought Steven was gonna bust a rhyme, but instead he just took some shots at Ja. But look, the numbers are tough. A lot of people are now talking about the defense, and I do think that's a big deal for sure. For sure. And I just want to see it tonight. I want to see we're going to get a heck of a matchup tonight. And I want to see how much of a cone, as the kids say, Ja is on defense. 916-339-1140. Let's go to Ashley. What's up, Ashley? What you got for us?
So I got some good stuff here. I say it's easy, Fox, and it's not. If Morant's listening to this, I don't want to piss him off before the game. It's nothing at him. But the reason why I say it's easy is Fox has played 491 out of a possible 586 games, accounting for every game this season and the COVID-shortened season. He's averaging 83.78% of games played in his NBA career, while Ja Morant has played 269 out of 422 possible games, which puts him at a 63.74%. So I did the numbers on that, and if you take 63% of an 82-game NBA season, he's averaging 52 games. So that means pretty much every game that they play, if they want to be a playoff contender in the 3rd seed, 4th seed, 5th seed, something like that in the Western Conference, you got to win every single one of those games. And you know how hard that is to win every game out of a possible 52? I mean, granted, you might win some with the bench, but in the Western Conference, it's not easy to make the playoffs. So I say Fox.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Ashley. That's great stuff. Ashley did the homework there. We appreciate that. Again, there is something that everyone's missing here in this conversation. All right, and there's a 916 number that might be on to it. Let's talk about it on the other side. There we go. Calls are coming in now. Great stuff. As we get back into the conversation, breaking down Ja Morant versus De'Aaron Fox. Kyle is going to take some calls, so it's just me and you listeners right now.
I'll still be here, but just do your thing.
There we go. The one thing that I'm seeing, this is from the 916. I told you I'd read this. This talk is why Kings fans are delusional. Ja Morant is clearly the better player. That's from the 916. I will say it is interesting to me that nobody is bringing up the playoffs. Playoffs. Ja Morant has made a couple solid runs in the playoffs, and he did it at a younger age. Is he still eating off of the success he had in those years against the Warriors and that beef when they were the 2 seed? Is he still getting the benefit from that? I think so. I think there's no doubt about it. But we have to bring that up. I said I'm taking De'Aaron Fox because I just think he's more reliable. But we have to bring up the fact that Ja has had some legit playoff runs. And then I would go on to ask, based on those teams, and I think the West is probably stronger now than it was when they were rocking and rolling, but let's be honest here. That's Ja at 23, 24 years old, maybe even 22, and you look at the guys that they had on those teams, you're talking about and again, he was injured in that 22 series. I think the Warriors would have won anyway, but yeah, you talk about that availability. So I'm taking De'Aaron Fox. But you look at the crew, and you got, again, in 2021, 2022, Steven Adams, Kyle Anderson, Desmond Bane, Dillon Brooks, Brandon Clark, Shaq Buchanan, Jarrett Culver, Jaren Jackson, of course. They did have Tyus Jones at that time. Jonathan Conchar, DeAnthony Melton, who played well, Sam Merrill, Xavier Sneed, Xavier Tillman, Zaire Williams. And you sit there and you think to yourself, I mean, they finished second in the West. And somebody is saying he has had way better teams. That is my question. Who I just read off compared to who? Let's compare it to what De'Aaron Fox has this season and what we're expecting from De'Aaron Fox this season. I do think the West is tougher now than it was in 2022 because I believe that Jamal Murray was out that season, so we get all that. But are you telling me that Steven Adams, Santi Aldama, Kyle Anderson, Dillon Brooks, Desmond Bane, this is all 2 years ago now. All right, so they're all younger, and I'm talking about the Jaren Jacksons being younger. Those guys were young as heck. Desmond Bane, young as heck. Tyus Jones, Jonathan Conchar, like I said, obviously Ja Morant, Xavier Tillman, Zaire Williams. Is that a better team? Tougher West, I know. But is that a better team than what De'Aaron has right now? I know it's not apples to oranges, but this is what I'm saying. If we're going to talk about De'Aaron and try to ride for him in the national eye, in the public eye, this is why Ja Morant will be number 20 on these lists, and De'Aaron Fox will be 26 or 27 or 28 because they've gone to the playoffs and Ja did it at a young age. So now let's look at the roster that the Kings have And I know the bench is rough. No disrespect, but the bench is rough. But if Ja can take these dudes, and I know Desmond Bane is a stud. I don't know what to do with him as far as his ceiling, but Desmond Bane, I know y'all don't think Dylan Brooks is anything to write home about. Kyle Anderson, Santi Aldama, I'm pretty sure that was his rookie year. Steven Adams, Jared Culver was kind of a bust out of Texas Tech. Obviously, like I said, Jaren Jackson is the stud there. DeAnthony Melton has played well. Tyus Jones. I think that that maybe their team was a bit more balanced, maybe. But Ja did a lot of heavy lifting there. So, again, not apples to apples, but Ja has been in the playoffs for a couple years here. I know the West is tougher, but for what De'Aaron has, and I know it's not a perfect roster, you got to get into the dance, man. You got to get into the dance. You have to. We know what the numbers say, and I know it's a team game. The numbers are pretty much the same. I am taking De'Aaron Fox. But you look at what the Grizzlies have done, and you get, like we talk about AT&T, you get grandfathered in. Ja's just grandfathered in to being better than De'Aaron Fox until De'Aaron Fox, Jalen Brunson did it last season. I don't think anybody is saying Ja Morant's better than Jalen Brunson right now. Just one. It only takes one crazy season. So could this be it for De'Aaron Fox? Because I think we're all in agreement, besides that 1916 texter. I think we're all in agreement that we would take De'Aaron Fox, but there's a reason a lot of people wouldn't, and it's because of these playoff runs, and nobody brought that up. It ain't because of the defense. It's not because of the off the court issues. It's not because of the availability. It's because Ja has been a 2 seed. So now if you look at the guys that are looked ahead or ranked ahead of De'Aaron Fox outside of Sacramento, SGA, number one seed.
Yeah, we're not having an argument there.
1 seed. This past season, he skyrockets. Jalen Brunson, crazy run. Okay, they didn't go to the Eastern Conference Finals, but semis, crazy season.
They should have gone to the Eastern Conference Finals.
And let's not forget, went to the Western Conference Finals as a Robin.
Yep.
With Luka. All right, then he gets his own team. You have Tyrese Halliburton. I know that was a really jacked up Eastern Conference, but he got to the Eastern Conference Finals. He did. That's the reality.
Sure.
You have to get to the playoffs. You have to.
And that's before we get into the people who have trophies like Steph Curry, Luka Doncic. I know Western Conference trophy, but still a trophy.
And Dame is it speaks for himself what Dame did.
Yeah, it's not his fault. It's Portland's fault.
So we're all in agreement, or most of us are in agreement, that we would take De'Aaron Fox the next 5 years. We just want De'Aaron to prove why we're correct